PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PACTV Community News. We're excited to bring you local stories from the South Shore. This week, we bring you into Duxbury Harbor to welcome in a tall ship for the opening of the bay, and we learn how to count horseshoe crabs on Duxbury Beach.
PCN meets up with some Kingston Girl Scouts as they lay out their sea of flags for veterans. And we stop into the opening of the renovated Manomet Youth Center.
We also stop into the Duxbury Volunteer Awards ceremony, and we bring you the final Pembroke High School Senior Project video.
Pet Health takes us to Duxbury Animal Hospital for information on pet insurance. And we have a lovely singer and songwriter on set performing with her dad just in time for Father's Day.
It's a full show, and we begin at the Harbor Masters in Duxbury. Each Memorial Day weekend in Duxbury is kicked off with the opening of the Bay event put on by the Duxbury Bay Maritime School. A tall ship is brought in from different docks around the state to highlight the festivities. PCN was invited onto the Harbor Master's boat to help bring in the Thomas Lannon out of Gloucester.
Traditionally, what we do is bring a tall ship in as part of our ceremony. We call it Opening of the Bay or Memorial Day weekend. And today we're bringing in the Thomas E. Lannon for the Duxbury Bay Maritime School. When we get into the anchorage, this boat has limited mobility. So what we try to do is make sure that we always have a boat ready and prepared to be a push boat in case he needs a push in the bow with the stern or whatever it happens to be, so he can maneuver down the fairway into the float. We also have an obligation of making sure that the fairway is free of obstruction, which means any boats that are on moorings, could swing easily into the fairway. So what we do is we just go along, and the school, the Duxbury Bay Maritime School, has 3 push boats that are standing by on our frequency, and when we need a boat pushed for any reason whatsoever to clear passage, they'll just tie up to it and push it out of the way. What makes it interesting this year, we just got dredged. We removed 300,000 cubic yards of material. During the dredging operation, I had probably over 2,000 feet of iron sitting in this channel at any one time. So thinking that this 90-foot schooner is going to create a problem for us is it won't. It's going to be fun.
What a beautiful ship. And you got to go out there and see it come in. Tell me all about it.
Well, it was a Friday afternoon before Memorial Day. It was a beautiful day. And I'm out in the front of their boat. It's just the harbor master and the assistant harbor master, and then me in the front. And I'm shooting, and all of a sudden he goes, "Hang on to something." I'm like, okay. So and then they went the fastest I've ever gone on a boat before. It was amazing. It was really fun. And then I told them after that was the fastest I'd ever gone. And they said, "Oh, if we had known that, we would have gone full fast." So they're great guys.
Good for you. Fun day. Here's a little factoid that you may not have already known. Dating back as far as the Civil War, 55 servicemen and women from the town of Kingston have given their lives on the field of battle. To honor them, the girls from Girl Scout Troop 80234 planted what they're calling a sea of flags on the front lawn of the town hall. PCN brings you this very touching story.
We're setting up a sea of flags for fallen veterans from Kingston, and we're going to honor it during the Memorial Day parade. The ground, it literally feels like solid rock, and so we have to use like screwdrivers and hammers to try to like pound the, we have to try to pound the American flags into the ground. And then Rachel,
we have 55 flags that are going in the ground. 27 of them are for men who fought in the Civil War, which is amazing, from the town of Kingston. And the girls have felt maybe some of what it's like to be in battle, trying to get these flags into the ground here. They're definitely putting their muscle into it.
Hands, okay?
I'm used to doing this like the is 54 men and 1 woman who have fallen protecting our country. Those sheets have the names of the veterans and what wars they have died in. I like the project a lot because it remembers me of my grandfather. He was a veteran too, and so I feel like by doing this, I'm also respecting him and all of his friends that have fallen in the war.
Flag.
Last year I was approached by Elaine Fiore, who's the chair of our selectmen, and Priscilla Brackett, who is the Veteran Affairs Coordinator, and asked if the Girl Scouts might be interested in doing this project for the town. Our girls are very involved in community service projects. They think about our soldiers all the time. We've given in our Girl Scout career over 3,200 boxes of cookies have gone overseas to soldiers. So they asked if we might want to participate in this, and the girls said absolutely. We hope that when people pass by this, they're going to see all of those flags and think of the veterans' current ones that have gone. They're going to stop, pick up the list of names and look them over and give them a thank you.
We want people who drive by to take away from this, remembering the veterans who gave their lives to help give us freedoms in our little town of Kingston. So.
The North and South Rivers Watershed Association is seeking volunteer citizen scientists to help count the horseshoe crabs to determine whether their population is on the rebound after years of overharvesting. We headed over to Duxbury Beach one Saturday morning to meet the watershed ecologist Sarah Grady and our citizen scientists as they took to the shoreline counting horseshoe crabs.
We're doing horseshoe crab spawning surveys, trying to count both the density of crabs, the number of crabs per meter along the beach, as well as the density of females along the beach. And that is a measure of the spawning index, so how much the horseshoe crabs are reproducing. We typically have 5 rounds of horseshoe crab surveys, and within each round there are 6 surveys. The surveys are centered around the full and new moons in the last half of April, the 2 in May, and 2 in June. And for each of those, we're doing 3 daytime surveys and 3 nighttime surveys. So typically those are happening in the middle of the day and then the middle of the night. Horseshoe crabs are an important species to the ecology of our estuaries and our bays. And recently, their populations have declined in many places along the Atlantic coast. So we are doing these surveys to understand how their populations are doing and also to assess how effective the state regulations for horseshoe crab fisheries are by tracking them year after year. Our volunteers found out about the surveys through a couple of different ways. It went out on our watershed email list. We had press releases in the local papers. And when a volunteer comes, they essentially will be very slowly walking along the beach for about a half mile total. And measuring the number of horseshoe crabs, counting the number of horseshoe crabs in 5 by 5 meter squares. We'd like to see that there's a stable, possibly increasing population of horseshoe crabs in Duxbury Bay. I'm one of multiple people who are doing these surveys all around the state and all around New England and actually all the way down to Delaware Bay. And it turns out that in many cases, the populations are very bay specific. So they're not really moving around a lot. So by tracking all these different bays, we're able to understand how horseshoe crabs are doing on this very local scale, as well as on a statewide scale and a coast-wide scale. And all of that information is able to be used to calibrate the regulations at the state level and also on a regional level with the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission.
PCN is happy to bring you the very last video produced by Pembroke High School Class of 2016 graduating seniors. Matt and Violet completed their senior project by working on PCN and producing videos for our news. This final offering is about their classmates' senior projects and how this wonderful program helps young people take steps towards potential careers.
The senior project started, I'm not sure how many years ago, but it was intended for kids find someone that they're interested in, that has a job that they're interested in, that could be a mentor to them. And they have started picking places and they spend anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6 weeks, depending on how long the last term is actually going to be for seniors. And we have a variety of locations. We have about 10 students working in elementary school. We have 3 students working at the middle school. We have a couple of students working in hospitals. And we have some students working in business orientation. And they're required to keep journal entries for the week. They have to work 25 hours, and they have to present at the end. That's sort of their capstone project piece.
I'm doing senior project at the Pembroke Fire Department because I'm going to Mass Maritime for emergency management, and this is kind of in my field.
So my senior project, my mentor is Mrs. Weissman at Hobmock Elementary School, and I'm helping her teach her 2nd grade class. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, so this is great practice, getting to know like the different techniques for teaching children, and getting to spend time with them is a really great experience to have.
My favorite aspect of it so far has been seeing the ambulances and what goes on there, what's inside of it, because I want to be an EMT/paramedic eventually someday maybe. So seeing that and seeing it live in action has been really helpful.
I love senior project because it's really nice to have a different option instead of having to go to classes that I didn't really need anymore, like Spanish. I can come here and actually do my future job because I want to be a teacher. It's almost like an internship, and it's just great experience to have under my belt and to make sure that I like it for when I grow up and I become a teacher.
So every day I go out on calls with the guys working, whether it be medical or fire associated.
I usually just answer questions, and if there's something they're struggling with, I'll go over it on the board with Mrs. Weissman.
People should do a senior project because it helps them know if this is the right field they want to go into, and if it's what they want to do for the rest of their life.
I think other students should do senior projects because it's a great experience to have. Even if you aren't sure what you want to do when you grow up, you can see what you do and don't like, and you get out of class to actually be out in the real world, testing out a future job.
Boy, Violet and Matt really interviewed some really well-spoken seniors there.
Yes.
And this is like having an internship in college. This is really an amazing opportunity for these high school kids.
It's a very strong program, and I was very impressed with Matt and Violet, and they've done 3 videos for the news, and I wasn't sure at first.
Thank you, Matt and Violet.
Thank you, guys. I wasn't sure at first, and then we gave them a trial, and I was really impressed with their work. And you can see Violet in that shot
great.
in there with the camera, because she doesn't like to be on camera, so I love how they snuck that shot in of her.
Congratulations.
Over the weekend, the Friends of the Manomet Youth Center hosted an open house to showcase all of the renovations the building has received. Thanks to $72,000 raised by a Jeep raffle this past year, the organization was able to make the necessary changes to the building to keep it up to code and open for the hundreds of local kids that use the facility. PCN stopped by to find out what's next for the center.
Well, today's such a big deal because it's an open house for the Manomet Youth Center. The Friends of the Manomet Youth Center have been raising funds for over a year. They did a Jeep raffle, and they've really done a lot of work in here. New flooring, new air conditioning, new windows, and it really spruced up the place for the kids of the Manomet Center. We want to show off the community to the town of Plymouth, to the officials in Plymouth, to see what can happen when you have public-private partnership working together, and what they can do for the youth of this community. You know, with the opioid crisis that we're having in this Commonwealth, it's a huge deal to have kids being busy after school. The worst hours for kids are 3 to 6. So if you can keep kids busy from 3 to 6, and what the Friends of the Manomet Youth Center have done is done that. We were able to work with the school department to get kids dropped off here after school, and then parents can pick them up when they get out of work. And it's gone from 5 or 6 kids a day to 40, 50, 60 kids a day. Betty Cavaco is the president of the Friends of the Manomet Youth Center, and she's just a dynamo. And she's been single-handedly been doing all this, getting everything set up, calling the people, organizing the whole thing. And if it wasn't for her, I'll be honest, this would never happen over the last year and a half. Yes, there's other board members that are involved, but she's the one that actually pulled it all together.
We still have a ways to go, but today's our way to celebrate with the community, to thank them for all the effort that they've put in for allowing us to do all this for the kids. We want them to see that every penny that they spent on the Jeep raffle went into this facility. And we want them to see that. And we're so proud that we're able to represent that to them, because we did in fact spend $70,000 upgrading this facility. We are also kicking off our next fundraiser, because there's always more to do. And our next fundraiser is a Disney Dream Vacation. And it's 7 days, 6 nights at the Polynesian Resort. It includes airfare, a meal plan, and hopper passes for a family of 5. So it's another big fundraiser that we've got some major sponsors. We have Marty's GMC's helping us out with it. East Coast Power Washing is helping us out fund it. And we're going to move forward, and I think it's going to be more successful than the Jeep was.
Each year, the town of Duxbury recognizes and celebrates their town's volunteers with a banquet dinner. This year, the town recognized Anita Haffey for her lifetime of good deeds with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
It's a tremendous evening because we recognize the volunteers who live here in Duxbury and all the wonderful things that they do. But I think especially the part I love the most about this night is that many of these volunteers would never be recognized. They do all kinds of different things, and people nominate them, and we get to, as a committee, we get to hear all the tremendous things that they do. Just some are very simple things and some are tremendously large things, but everybody is equal in our opinion. Some shine a little bit more, and it's an opportunity for us to recognize people in the community. So often we hear just about, the people who are very visible in the community, but this gives everybody an opportunity to be nominated and to be recognized for what they do. And in Duxbury, we are so fortunate that we have so many different types of volunteers. That's what makes this town so amazing. Everybody in Duxbury knows Anita Haffey because everything that she has done in all the years that she has lived here has had an impact on so many things. Anita is tremendous. When I came here 30 years ago, everybody said to me, you have to meet Anita Haffey, and she was one of the first people I met here. She's a dear friend. I looked at her as a mentor on what being a good volunteer is all about. She's has done Crossroads for Kids, and she does the beach reservation, and everything. Anita has had her hand in pretty much everything in Duxbury in the 30 years that I've known her. So she deserves what she's getting. This is not her first nomination, but I'm proud to call her my friend, and I'm happy that she is receiving this wonderful award tonight.
I mean, when you can do anything for anybody else, it really lifts your spirits, and you feel good about it. And when you feel good about something, it gets to be contagious, and you just reach out and help out and feel good.
Pet Health This Week takes us to Duxbury Animal Hospital for information on pet insurance.
Hello, I'm Dr. Dan Hebert from Duxbury Animal Hospital, and we're here with PCN's Pet Health segment, and today we're going to talk about pet insurance. The two big things to realize is that there's basically two different kinds of pet insurance. The first one is what we are typically used to for medical insurance, which is policies that you'll pay a premium to, and they will cover wellness visits, vaccines, that kind of thing, and then when there's a problem, they'll cover towards that as well. So that's what most people are familiar with. They work well typically when things become a problem, things get expensive. The payouts usually aren't quite as much just because they're paying out for wellness visits over the course of the year. So it may not be the best thing for when there's a problem, which is where policy number 2 comes in. So there are companies that will only handle things like sick visits or car accidents, or the things that can get very expensive, meaning in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. And they will not pay out for things like wellness visits and that kind of stuff, but when things are a problem, they typically are not much of an argument to get the payments back. There's not a lot of paperwork involved. It's just basically, it's not a pre-existing condition. We will cover 90% of it and you guys are good. They'll also typically based on a deductible program where you'll pay a deductible per disease. So say your dog develops diabetes, you'll pay a deductible the first time and never pay a deductible again, and they will still cover 90% of testing, treatments, and that kind of thing. So most people tend to go more towards the one that's more like the car policy, because that's where things become much more of a help when you have insurance, just like a car accident. But the biggest thing is talk to your veterinarian. Everybody has their opinions. They have their favorite companies as well. So definitely talk to them, do your own research online. But you know, compared to Europe, where 60% of animals are covered by pet insurance, less than 6% of US pets are covered. And it can make a big difference when things are a problem. So talk to your vet, make a good decision, and thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching the show. Information about our show and air times are on our website, and you can find PCN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We're excited to close the show now with a studio guest musician for our arts and entertainment series. Take it away, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Julie. Tonight we have on a very special guest. A few weeks ago, PCN was lucky enough to cover the almost famous 5th anniversary concert at the Spire, and that night we were able to meet Abby Vale and her dad, Luke. Nice to have you on set, you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
So, Abby, tell me a little bit how songwriting started for you. Like, what was that moment where it was, I'm going to write songs for people?
It started in my freshman year of high school. I had a really, I was having a tough time, and I came home. My mom's like, you need some sort of outlet for your emotions. So she told me that, well, my dad taught music lessons for a really long time, and she's like, you know, why don't you just pick up the guitar? And that's kind of how it went.
That's awesome. So, Luke, Abby tells me you own a music store for a while, and now you two are a musical partnership. Tell me a little bit how that happened.
Well, she was doing open mics a lot on her own, and one night she asked me to play with her, and I'm not going to say no, and it just worked. You know, it was effortless. It's just you know, the chemistry was definitely there musically, and we've been playing for about 2 years now.
That's great. So tonight you're going to be playing a song called "Wandering Soul," and take it away.
Just your way to kiss me like forever, but you're gone the next day. Stick my heart in the pocket of your worn out jeans, so wherever life brings you, you'll take part of me, and I love you. Wandering soul, and in my mind, you'll never grow old, and no matter where you go, you'll always be somewhere wandering through my dreams. I'll look through the photos of the places you've been. They each show the beauty you see in ordinary things, and I still have a hard time recognizing what you see in me. With your small town soul as worn as your shoes, and it's something worth having, even if it means